breaking news for those that don't know, Eben Etzebeth has been past fit for Saturday, so he will take his place on the bench with Marco van Staden making way. I think that'll give a lot of Springbok supporters a little more confidence. Not that I was overly worried about the team, but any Springbok side with Eben Etzebeth in is infinitely better. We just finished the press conference here at the Southern Sun Hyde Park, and I'm sitting in the chair that Ben Jason Dixon was sitting in. And if you think he's big, you're right, he's massive. He's way bigger in real life. And you know, they asked him a question about that change in his role now, because he was going to be the backup block. And he did say it's somewhat of a relief because, you know, he can now concentrate on his job and doesn't have to worry about going into lock at any point, because Eben will obviously do that. And if he does get replaced, then Peter Steff will move into his position. I suspect that's the way they'll do it once Eben comes on. So yeah, he's got free reign to run around the park and make as many tackles as he can. They also asked him about ever reaching the 28 tackles that Peter Steff achieved in that epic World Cup final performance of his. And he said, well, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, but he does like tackling. And if you look at the stats, he's been up there in terms of tackle count and carries. So yeah, it's been a meteoric rise for him. Also asked Ox a question about looking his opposition in the eye. And yeah, he said there's definitely a few tricks that get played, but you know, once you've had that first scrum, then you can kind of read what mindset your opposition is in, and especially if you dominated that first scrum, well then each scrum from that point onwards gets more interesting and a little more fun. I can imagine as a Springbok prop, you go out there to feed. Obviously the All Blacks are a different story. We didn't really scrum them too much or at all really in the World Cup final. So I think that's going to be a critical part of the game. And yeah, I can't wait to see how it all turns out. It was nice having a chat to them, and then chatted to Kobus Reinach afterwards as well, and asked him about, you know, in 2015 he was left out of the World Cup squad. A year later, then went to Northampton, and he said he went, you know, he was obviously disappointed, went to see the world, try something else, different cultures, different type of rugby, and it worked for him. And he supported the Springboks just like he always did, hoping one day that he could get back into the team. Remember when Alistair Coetzee took over, they had that rule where you had to have played, I think it was 30-something tests, to be eligible if you're playing overseas. So he wasn't able to. When Rassie came in, that changed things. And now he's a 2-time World Cup winner. And he's starting on Saturday against the All Blacks. So that is a real good example of not giving up. And yeah, looking forward to the game, obviously, like we always do. All Blacks versus the Springboks. You know, the All Blacks, they've got some dynamic players in their side, just like Kobus said, and anything can happen. If they get a couple of things go their way at the start of the game, just like they did against Argentina, yes, they won well, but things went their way, and from that point on, they just surged forward. Whereas in the game before, they didn't get away enough, and it enabled Argentina to get back into the game. So, yeah, signing off from Joburg.